2022 has been another landmark year for college football landscape, but it's not over yet. Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Gianna Kataya with Jude Wozniak and Zach Gershman, and we will cover everything from this weekend's upcoming conference championship games to the effects of name, image, and likeness rights for the athletes. So Jude, I'm going to start with you. This week we have the conference championship games coming up. What are you looking forward to? What matchup are you most excited for?
Well, it's not just the conference championship week, but it's redemption week. A lot of redemption matchups, USC, Utah, and my matchup is Tulane and UCF. It's a great matchup. Last time they played each other, 38-31, UCF came out with a victory, and UCF's going for their fourth 10-win season in the last 6 years. Tulane, they're going for they have their first 10-win season since 1998 and their fourth all-time since 1902. So it's awesome for the Green Wave to be playing this well, and the winner of this gets a chance at a New Year's Six Bowl. So it's a great opportunity to get a lot more like Tulane on the map, more recruits coming in. So it'll be really cool to watch. Moving on from the recruits, you have to look at the quarterback battle for this Tulane versus UCF matchup. You look at John Reese, Plumlee, and how just dominant he was in that first game. Over 175 rushing yards in that matchup, in that 38-31 victory. And then also for Tulane, the gunslinging oohs and ahs quarterback in Michael Pratt. He has been so dominant this year and has been a huge factor of why the Green Wave are 10-2. And it's just going to be so much fun to watch this AAC championship.
I never thought we'd be talking about Tulane, Green Wave, and UCF during conference championship week, but it's 2022. This is a year for surprises. And one of the biggest surprises when the year began was USC with Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, leaving from Oklahoma, shocking everybody, and going out to Southern California. And this game against the Utah Utes, it's a huge one. You talked about the quarterback battle there. Cam Rising and Caleb Williams in this one, an automatic showdown is what it's going to be. Cam Rising and the Utes already beat USC earlier on in the season. That one on the graphic, that is from the Utah Utes. And that one on the graphic for USC, that's the one that's separating them potentially from being a lock in the college football playoffs. So not only is this a huge game for Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams simply for the fact that it's the next game on the schedule, this is a statement game, a redemption game, as you said in the beginning, because it's their shot to make it to the college football playoffs, but it's also their shot at a Pac-12 championship.
Jude brought up New Year's Six bowl games, and after this week of the conference championship games, bowl games will be announced. Every year, everybody's so excited to watch the New Year's Six bowl games. But over the years, also, people only want to see the semifinal bowl games, and that's what people are paying attention to. So with that being said, do you guys think that the New Year's Six bowl games have lost its value?
I think to an extent, by default, yes. Because if USC does lose in this game against Utah, the conversation is going to be about Ohio State or possibly Alabama being that fourth spot. And USC probably will not be the talk of the town anymore. But I do think that they haven't completely lost its value because these New Year's Six games are very important for financial reasons for these academic institutions. There's buyouts, there's payouts to participate in these games. And on top of that, it's just an all-around fun experience. Now it'll be interesting to see how the tide shifts once the College Football Playoff Committee expands to being 12 teams instead of the 4 that it currently is at. But these games, as Gianna said, not only do you want to watch it and see it all happen, you want to play in them. And that's what a lot of these schools who know that they're not going to be in the top 4, they're not the annual Alabamas and the Georgias of the world. They're not the annual Ohio States or honestly the Michigans of the world nowadays. So these New Year's Six games, these are their championships. So it'll be very interesting to see how it ultimately develops, but I don't think they necessarily lost its value or its meaning, but it's definitely not what it once used to be.
Yeah, I'm not a person that really sees the loss in value because last year, for the college football playoffs, those games were abysmal to watch. All 2-score plus games, and the only one that was close was the Alabama-Georgia game, which was still 15 points. It really wasn't that fun to watch, just blowout after blowout. In terms of the other New Year's Six bowl games, Ohio State-Utah last year, probably one of the best games I have watched of my life. It was incredible. And then Notre Dame-Oklahoma State, 37-34, a great matchup. Baylor-Ole Miss was really close until the end, where Baylor was able to pull away. These games that were not a part of the championship week were a lot of fun to watch. And then you move to the next sort of college playoff landscape with 12 teams. I think it adds more meaning. Yes, you're going to have to add 2 more games for the first 2 rounds because it will be 8 games. It won't be 6. But it just adds that much more, and then you'll get to the college football semifinals and then the college football championship. So I think it makes a cool sort of togetherness of all the bowl games for those 2 rounds in the new college football playoff format.
Yeah, you guys both bring up some really good points about your 6 bowl games. Zach, you mentioned financial stuff, so now I want to get into name, image, and likeness for the athletes. It's been a year now that college football has had it. Star football players have been taking advantage to it. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud are making up to $2 to $3 million in valuations with these brand deals. So what do you guys think about that?
I look at it and I think name, image, and likeness deals are incredible, but there's also some downsides to it, and I'm going to go more academic sides. For the name, image, likeness deals, yeah, it's incredible. You get to make a lot of money, and it helps kids go to college. It really does, and really, these people are in second jobs, and before, the NCAA were profiting off these players, and they got none of it. And you look at it, the only negative I see with it is people aren't going to school for education anymore. They're going for the money. And that's only the downside, but good on them. They're getting their money. They deserve the money because they are getting the views for these teams. They are bringing in the clicks, and I think that the NIL deals are just necessary in general, and not much complaints besides the academic side from me.
I believe Cardell Jones once said, the former Ohio State quarterback, that he does not go to school for school, he goes to school for football. And maybe that's an Ohio State mindset because of them being one of the top programs in the country. But NIL definitely it's changed the college landscape. You can't talk about college football anymore without talking about name, image, and likeness. Those 3 letters, NIL, have literally changed college football as a whole. It changed the recruiting aspect of it. It changes the locker room dynamics, which has been rumors going around with Tennessee, with their program about NIL and players saying, I have this over this. Now, who knows what actually goes on in those locker rooms. But I will say when it comes down to it, name, image, and likeness, it has its benefits. And we see it here at Penn State, being on campus here. When the Chad Powers phenomenon took over campus, Penn State took advantage of name, image, and likeness, started selling T-shirts that ultimately benefited their walk-on athletes. And stories like that are what really take the cake for being what name, image, and likeness truly is about. Because we could talk about C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, and those players are going to make $2, $3 million, sometimes even more. And when they go off into the league, they'll definitely be making that and some change. But the walk-on players, the players who tirelessly do this for the love of the game, they're not always going to be the star players. They're not always going to be in the spotlight. So to have NIL and for those players to benefit off their name, image, and likeness in ways that they otherwise wouldn't have, it's definitely important. And I think that with it being a year under our belt now, being the NCAA, recruiting has changed. I mean, Lane Kiffin was potentially holding off on going to Auburn because he wanted to see what Ole Miss was going to do when it came to the NIL game. In the beginning of the season, Nick Saban ripped Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M for name, image, and likeness and paying off their players. This has changed the game in more ways than one. And with the year under their belt being the NCAA, they now have their legs under them. They're ready to go. And it'll be interesting to see how it goes for years on.
Yeah, no, you guys both bring up some really good points. Zach, I really liked your point about the walk-ons, how it can benefit them. But that's a wrap for this edition of Penn State Sports Night. For Jude Wozniak and Zach Gershman, I'm Gianna Kataya. Thanks for watching and have a great night.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night. We hope you liked that segment.
And we're sure there's other Penn State Sports Night segments that you are going to love as well. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content.
And check us out on social media for updates and behind-the-scenes clips and pics. Follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action.
For all of us here at the Belisari Media Center, we are
Penn State Sports Night.